One of your peers, you actually typically do the work. So we followed these 10 steps. And in 50 days, Tia and I went executive director. And that's what today's all about. So starting off with the top 10, you're going to want to get your notepads out. We do have this available in a document. This is Go Executive Director, and there will be no busting, but there will be, and one more, and one more, and one more. And I don't want you to make the decision. It's easy to put, I'm purposely not looking at the comments right now because it's easy to say, I'm going ED, and I want you to. But I actually want you to listen to all 10 and say, will I do this? Because it's very important, the first one, where you start with, because everything is decided on decision. Do I want executive director? Am I willing to do what it takes? And am I willing to lead with actually what a coach does? So the one and only Queen Bee, Miss Tia.
Are you ready to bust through that wall that's been limiting you, that's been holding you back? Everything you want is on the other side of what you're fearing the most, of what you're holding back on. And the number one reason most of us aren't busting through is because of our personal health. And it's time to make a decision to kick the shame in the face, to look at that gut and look at whatever's going on in your life, the pain, the trauma, and it's time to look at it and say, I'm ready to release you. I'm ready to contend forward. And I want to invite you. Number one is your personal health. Number one is your personal volume. Doug and I made a decision. We were going to go all in on our personal health. Now, this didn't mean us going back on 5 and 1. That's not, some of us, we need to on this call, need to be back in structure on 5 and 1, making ourselves accountable to our coach, okay? Not our coach having to reach out to us every day, but saying to our coach, this next 30 days, I'm going to text you every day with my weigh-in, how I'm doing, what were my highs, what were my lows, and make ourselves accountable. So we made a personal order on the 1st of the month. And we said, we're going all in. We ordered $800 worth of fuelings, I remember, because that meant accountability on our end, that we were going all in. We were committing at that time. I believe it was like a 4 and 2. We did not have active line. We did not have all that. But we had been on our journey. We had lost our weight, 5 to 10 pounds. They crept back in, and it was time to lead from the front. So I want to first invite you. Number one step is your personal health, and partner with your future self. You don't have to believe going that next level in your personal health is possible. But can I invite you to take the action and commit to your health and put your personal order in the 1st of the month, this first week, because that is going to keep you accountable on your end. It's going to keep you in that structure. Okay, another thing I want to invite you to is how you do one thing is how you do many things. And if you want to build a successful executive director business, start off, one thing I'm going to say in addition to your personal volume is how you do one thing is how you do many things. You might live in quite a bit of chaos. I know when I started coaching, my home was not clean. I'm a free spirit that has to embrace structure, but I started making my bed every day. Start making your bed every day. And you might be thinking, Tia, that is so silly, but everything is connected. You watch what happens if you start off making your bed. It's going to be a lot easier for you to make those connections every day. And I want to funnel into making those connections. This is where the rubber meets the road. I remember when I saw that first 100 list, actually I came home around this same time, and Doug had pulled out a beautiful big whiteboard and had written over 200 names. And he wrote stars by the people that he was going to connect with and wrote stars by the people I was going to connect with. And he gave me this vision. And I was overwhelmed in a way that, I knew all those names. I wanted to impact all those names, but it was daunting. It was overwhelming to me. But I remember when I heard Mel Kaufman talk about little miracles and the 5 penny concept. And I want to invite you this next 60 days, because really, if you give me 60 days, I can help you. We can help you getting on these boot camps. You will grow to executive director. You might not hit it on the 60th day. It might take you 90. It may take you 120. But I want to invite you the next 60 days to connect with 3 to 5 people. Now, you know if it's 3, you know if it's 5, you know if you can do 10. But it starts off with a connection. It starts off with making someone else's day better than you found them. Now, this doesn't have to be rocket science, you guys. It can literally be connecting with them on social media and sending that friend that you know that they went on vacation this summer. Oh my goodness, how was your vacation this summer? It looked like you had a lot of fun at the Great Wolf Lodge, or it looked like you had fun wherever. But it's literally stepping into people's worlds. So I put 5 pennies in my pockets. I still do this to this day. I put 5 pennies in one side of my pockets. Now, if I'm not wearing jeans that day, obviously that doesn't work really well, but you might need to put on your jeans this next month. And I move these pennies over throughout the day, whether it's connecting with someone at a coffee shop, whether it's connecting with someone on social media. But our goal this morning, I've added 2 new people as friends on my Instagram, on my Facebook. Our goal every day is to add 5 new connections on our social media that we're stepping into their world. And here's what I want to end with on this side of connections is 15 years into this, when I started, I just wanted to help a couple people. I wanted to help my family. I wanted to help my mom. Little did I know that it would ripple out to 20. And now, you guys, I can say 15 years later, because of moving these pennies every day, being consistent and doing my part in changing my corner of the world. A million lives have been impacted because of our original yes. I want to go help one more. So will you be the community starter? Will you be the one that believes that we can help people win in their health? Because everything we want is on the other side of making that connection and believing in that person on the other side. And nobody better that can really help equip us, because this woman has been all over this nation, military wife, and has made her life, her purpose in making someone else's day better. And I love what Marcus do, and just how I was just with her in Colorado, and the ability of how we can just help one more. So Marcus Sue, I'm gonna let you take it away.
Thank you, Tia. Happy Saturday, you guys. In fact, last week we had to watch the recording because we were on an in-person hike, which was so good for our souls. Well, for mine, I can't speak for everybody. But here's the deal. Last January, just to give a little context, last January, 6 to 8 months ago, we had a similar event, a coaching event followed by a health and hope. And this time we kind of switched it up. We did a Friday night event, which was extremely relational and transformational, definitely some transaction in there. And then Saturday morning, we went south of Denver and hosted something for potential clients, newer coaches, and it was great. So in January, I did this like spider web thing of how to create community, okay? So we were trying to piggyback off of that. And I've done that training multiple times this year, even in different organizations. So hopefully somebody can find that snippet. But because you don't know me and I don't know all of you, and I have 7 to 8 minutes to hopefully convey something that'll put you into some massive action in the next 16 hours and 100 days, I wanted to tell you a little bit about myself just to gain some capital. Okay, so I've been coaching for 5 years. In that 5 years, I have lived in San Diego, California, Virginia Beach, Virginia, New York City. We are currently in Denver, Colorado. And in 10 months, my family of 6 will move again to somewhere that I actually do not know quite yet. So I'm an extremely proud naval officer wife, as Tia mentioned. I have 4 small children. And in 14 years, October will be 15, we have moved 9 times. And so long before Optavia, you guys, I was in the habit of setting that thermostat for my family as a cultivator of trust, a community builder. It's just, I never had an income-worthy vehicle to actually do that with. So when I grew my business that summer, I moved 2 weeks after I bought my coach's kit, the in-person connection actually came really natural for me because I've been doing that for over a decade, you guys. Unpaid, but I was in the practice of doing it. So this was just like an added bonus and more motivation to keep doing that. Now, COVID hit. I did write some notes because I want to be efficient. But when COVID hit, I did realize, as did all of you, and if you didn't realize this, maybe you just weren't around, just how efficient and how much of a bigger impact I could actually make virtually. Now, my coaching partners that are on here today, those are from decades, the ones that stayed around, decades of cultivating trust long before Optavia, right? Because I was in that practice. But with that online virtual space, I was able to show them what we were up to, show them what I was doing, and hand this gift to them, not only as a client, but a coaching partner as well. And so I am not here today to tell you that power hours and social media and working your posts and showing up isn't what you should be doing. I just did a training Monday night about how to be online in that space and cultivate trust with messaging and what you're posting and following up. So I'm all for both. But my job today is actually to tell you exactly what I do and hopefully give you some tools and skill sets to implement into your power hours when you sit down to do those. So here's 2 things that I do every single week as a part of my power hours. Now I know these are daily. This particularly for me happens on Thursday. It's when I meal plan. It's when I set up my Google Calendar for the week, my Calendly for the week. It's where we figure out where my husband and I are taking our 4 children to 90 different activities. So number 1, I have a consistent time block on my calendar for in-person connections. Dave Ramsey, if you're a Dave Ramsey fan, he says, it's better to tell your money where it's going, not the other way around. I feel that with my time. I want to tell my time where it's going, not the other way around, you guys. So get something as a block on your schedule. Mine happens to be Wednesday morning after my workout for no more than a 30-minute coffee date, which I pay for, or Thursdays, a 60 to 90-minute lunch. Mondays, I'm getting my house in order. We have team training. I share on there sometimes. Tuesdays, my client support. Wednesday, Thursday tend to be a pretty in-person open day for me, you guys. During my power hour on that Thursday, I text 3 people. And if you work with me on here, it's the first thing we do. It's before we open our Instagram or Facebook, before I work my post, before I wish happy birthday. The first thing I'm doing is sending 3 text messages to 3 different people if they can meet me during those times. And the first person to respond gets that slot. If somebody responds later in the day, I simply text, hey, I'm so sorry, I kind of messed up with that timing. Does the following week work? And now I have 2 dates lined up. Sometimes in one Thursday, I can literally have all 3 weeks set up. That's the first thing. Before you open your social media and you're sitting down in your space to do your power hour, invite 3 people to meet you either for coffee, lunch, or walk. It is actually going to be really healthy for your personal health as well. Talk about integrity, start doing more in-person things. It's really easy to stand like turning left or have a good angle. But when you're in person in yoga pants or crop top, whatever it is, that's where the real weight is shown, you guys. Number 2, I host an in-person event every month. I don't always call it a help and hope. Sometimes I'll text our small group leaders and say, hey, can I take it off your plate this month and host on a Wednesday, actually? We have the in-person Colorado event. I've already planned the Lean and Green Pizza Night for Colorado, September 27th. Having an in-person thing, I'm like, maybe you're not ready for that. Maybe you feel really confident and competent with your own personal clients and coaches. I know Alicia Rayleigh invites her clients over to her house for dinner on Monday nights because it's the community calls during dinner. So she says, let's come and have dinner together and watch the call together. There's a million ways to actually create in-person community once a month. Now, during those power hours, every day, every other day, wherever I implement it, I am actually creating hype around this event. I'm sharing on social media. I'm using both and to actually show up. So with that said, it doesn't have to be with just clients or coaches. I encourage you to do one thing a month outside of your clients and coaches, you guys. And I know this leads me to my last point before I read some statistics for you guys, and then I'm going to pass it over to Leslie. But it leads me to really my last point, which is what I've seen a big difference in really in the year that I've lived here in Denver. There's been a season, which it was highly encouraged, as it should have been, to use these power hours, your online community connections during the nooks and crannies of your life. I have sat in my garage plenty of times before I walked inside and answered a few messages or during ballet or, whatever it may be. This is just not that season. A virtual power hour is meant to be done in just that, virtually for an hour. The rest of your day, you guys, needs to be lived with people. When you are at school, I'm going to read them, sporting events for your kids, car line, grocery store, the gym, getting your hair done. Get off your phone. You got to have your antennas up, you guys. You have to be looking around. Back in July, my kids had a football practice. It was like 1,000 degrees here. I didn't even know it got hot in Denver. It's like 1,000 degrees here. I was sitting in my car, AC blaring. A girl pulled up next to me. Her kid was late. She definitely needs what we have. She's late, she physically needed what we had. She actually had an oxygen thing on. And I glanced over. This is one of my new clients, by the way, back in August, this month. I glanced over, and instead of just finishing my power hour, which would have been so normal and easy to do, I knocked on her window. And just like I would naturally start a conversation online asking a question, I said, do you know how long this practice is lasting? That was it. And of course she connected with me on socials, but we talked for that full hour. We laughed. I heard more about her physical conditions, her health conditions. And actually, the 7 clients that I started in the last 90 days and all 16 health assessments were from in-person connections. Because I interrupted a conversation at ballet about the gym, started working out at Heller Fit. Because I stopped somebody in the grocery store, asked a question in the aisle. Have your antennas up and be looking around. They connected with me on socials because they saw what I did, because I show up every day. But they gained trust because of who I was in person, you guys. In fact, my son's 6th grade teacher, who just signed up yesterday, does not follow me on social media. She doesn't know my weight loss. She's never seen my picture. I probably should text it to her, actually, to gain a little trust there. But she found out what I did through another teacher at school, and because my son raised his hand and said that's what his mom did for a living. But because of how I move my body, how I eat in front of her, how my kids eat in front of her, how my kids look in the morning, how I look in the morning, how my home looks when they came over for a play date with 6th grade, that was enough. That was enough to gain her trust. She signed up yesterday. She needs to lose 70 pounds. I'm going to read some statistics to you guys, and this is, I think, what probably had the biggest impact at the Colorado training. I was a little out of breath. I actually left this book upstairs because I was reviewing it during my morning time. It's called The 6 Conversations. You can go buy the book. It's a small book, but just like Dan said in Colorado, you're going to read the book. You got to go do something with it. Don't read the book and be like, oh, here we go. I'm in action. This is a Harvard study, again, called The 6 Conversations. I'll type it in the chat, or I'm sure somebody will. Is it really that bad, is this question? Are you ready? This is a Harvard study that was done since COVID. Nearly half of Americans report sometimes or always feeling alone. That's 46%. 47% constantly feel left out. 1 in 4 Americans, 27%, rarely or never feel as though there are people who really understand them. 2 in 5 Americans sometimes or always feel that their relationships are not meaningful. That's 43%. And that they are isolated from others. 1 in 5 people, 20%, report that they rarely or never feel close to people, or 18% feel that there are no people they can actually talk to about problems. Only 53% of Americans have daily, meaningful, in-person social interactions, including extended conversations with a friend or spending quality time with a family member. And Generation Z, these are adults 18 to 22, is considered the loneliest generation living and claims to be in the worse health than any previous living generation. Now, one thing I loved about this book and those statistics, if you want to close your eyes, I want to read this to you in a sentence paragraph form. And this is the message that some people right now, over half of Americans, are saying to themselves when they wake up in the morning. I always feel alone, I'm left out, and nobody understands me. I'm isolated with no good relationships. I don't have people to talk to, and I don't have any meaningful conversations. With this, my health is suffering as a result. So I think it's time for a global conversation about in-person community, and I know what I'm doing about it. And I think my question as I lead into Leslie is, what are you going to do about that? So thank you guys for the 7 to 8 minutes, and Leslie, take it away.